What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Cosmic Wonder. I'm Warren Thompson, and today we have some news about Doctor Strange making his return to the Marvel Cinematic Universe. We have a direct update from Benedict Cumberbatch himself, the actor who plays Doctor Strange. He was recently on a show where he talked very little about Doctor Strange, but he did briefly mention that he is about to start his return to the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Now, this doesn't really come as too big of a surprise. It was reported not too long ago that Doctor Strange 3 would have to take place at least before Avengers Secret Wars, possibly even before Avengers the Kang Dynasty. Which makes perfect sense because in the post-credit scene for Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, or Doctor Strange 2, we saw that Clea appeared and told Doctor Strange that he created an incursion and that they were going to fix it. And that is basically the whole premise of the latter half of the multiverse saga. Incursions happening in the multiverse being at risk of complete and total destruction. So it doesn't even make sense for Doctor Strange 3 to come out after the multiverse saga because incursions will, at least we hope, be taken care of by then. Or the Marvel Cinematic Universe as we know it will completely change, and then it'll kind of be irrelevant as it is. Incursions won't really matter, at least not for a while. They are the main premise for the Kang Dynasty and Secret Wars. Now, we do know that Doctor Strange 3 is going to be coming before Avengers Secret Wars. However, we aren't actually sure that this update that Benedict Cumberbatch is giving us is for Doctor Strange 3. It could be for another movie that Doctor Strange could be in. And the other movies that he could possibly be in are equally exciting because they could mean some pretty epic crossovers, like possibly Doctor Strange appearing in the Fantastic Four movie. And we'll dive into why he could be talking about the Fantastic Four movie in just a bit. Let's first go over what exactly he said. When appearing on the show AH/JW3 Speaker Series, he was talking about the upcoming projects that he would be filming as an actor, and he said there are some Marvel capers in the making next year, confirming that he is either going to start filming next year for a role as Doctor Strange, or he will come out in something next year as Doctor Strange. Now, since we haven't heard anything about him appearing in any of the upcoming Marvel movies or shows, it's more than likely that he is talking about starting to film something next year for something that he will appear in. However, there is a possibility that he could show up in some movies next year, like perhaps Deadpool 3. That's going to be a multiverse traveling movie in which it will directly affect the multiverse and incursions. We already know Deadpool is going to cause incursions to happen. In fact, we've already seen him do it in the post-credits for Deadpool 3. He stole Cable's time travel device and already changed a lot. And they're going to address that and deal with that in Deadpool 3, so perhaps Doctor Strange makes an appearance. But again, since he was talking about next year, that most likely means that he would have already had to film his role for Deadpool 3, or will have to do it really soon, and there has been no word about that and nobody has seen him on set. The other possible project could be Agatha Coven of Chaos, but again, this has pretty much all been filmed already, unless they decide to come back and do some reshoots. And again, no sign of him on the set for Agatha, no word at all about him being in this project. So we are looking towards the future, and many people right now are looking at the Fantastic Four. And if we break it down, it really does seem to make sense. But of course, he could simply be coming back for Doctor Strange 3. Just because we haven't heard anything about when it's going to film or when it's going to possibly release doesn't mean that it's not in the plans for Marvel Studios. They could just be keeping it very secret right now. So of course this could be for Doctor Strange 3. However, the Fantastic Four already does have a release date. Right now it's coming May 2nd of 2025. That means they could start filming for this movie late next year. And again, if we think about the events that took place in Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, it would make sense for him to appear, at least even if for a brief moment, in the Fantastic Four film, especially if you consider what is going to happen immediately after the Fantastic Four film, which is the events of the Kang Dynasty and then Avengers Secret Wars. Now, the Fantastic Four film is definitely going to be somewhat of an origin story. It's going to be an origin story of them in the MCU, meaning they're going to make their debut in the MCU, but Kevin Feige, the president of Marvel Studios, has basically already confirmed this isn't going to be a traditional origin story for the Fantastic Four. This is sort of what they did for Spider-Man and Spider-Man Homecoming. They didn't do the classic Peter gets bit by a radioactive spider, Uncle Ben dies, that classic origin story that we've seen many times, which is why Kevin Feige stated they didn't do it, because we've seen it many times already. And at this point, we do know the origin of the Fantastic Four. It's been adapted a few times. It doesn't mean they won't show an origin at all, he just said not a traditional one. So don't get me wrong, the movie is going to focus on the Fantastic Four. However, let's not forget that in Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, Doctor Strange met a Reed Richards of a different universe, and they referred to him as the smartest man alive. And he was a part of a supergroup. That universe's Avengers. Doctor Strange was asking, what do you have? The Avengers? Is it S.H.I.E.L.D.? Who am I going to? And they said, the Illuminati. And he did not know who that was. So now that Doctor Strange is back in the main universe, it would make sense for him to investigate some of these characters that he saw in the other universe, especially since there was another superhero group in charge. Doctor Strange is in charge of protecting our main universe's reality, and he is a very curious person, so it is in line with his character to go and investigate if these characters actually exist in his universe. Is there a Professor Xavier? Is there a Black Bolt? Is there a smartest man alive that goes by Reed Richards, who is a part of the Fantastic Four in his own universe? But to take it a step even further, Reed Richards in the Secret Wars comics plays a huge role, especially when it comes to restoring the broken multiverse. That is something that we are going to need in the MCU, and Doctor Strange is going to have to realize this. And the two of them are probably going to realize it on their own and come together. Reed Richards, as the smartest man alive, will understand how the science of incursions actually happens, and Doctor Strange will understand kind of the whole magical multiverse side of it. So the two of them are going to be pretty key characters coming up, and if they just throw us the Fantastic Four and dive right into the multiversal problems in the film, then it would make sense for Doctor Strange to find Reed Richards. Maybe just a quick little cameo popping up and saying, Reed Richards, I need your help to save the multiverse. This is pretty much what he did with Tony Stark in Avengers Infinity War. He popped up in a portal in the park when Tony and Pepper were running and essentially said, yo, I'm Doctor Strange, I need your help. I can see him doing this to Reed Richards. But of course, there are other movies that he could possibly pop up in, like Blade. It's a supernatural movie. Doctor Strange does fall in the supernatural side of the MCU. And if the Midnight Suns really are going to be formed in the MCU, which we have been told by some insiders that that is indeed going to happen, that would make sense that Doctor Strange would start to form the Midnight Suns. And of course, we cannot forget about Spider-Man. There are some unresolved things between Peter Parker and Doctor Strange. Now, Doctor Strange might not know that Peter Parker is Spider-Man, but he still remembers and knows of Spider-Man. And it would make sense for him to appear in Spider-Man 4, especially if the spell is going to be undone in some way, shape, or form. Or perhaps Peter Parker misses MJ so much that he wants her to remember him. So he goes to Doctor Strange. We know Zendaya is returning for Spider-Man 4, so this is a possibility. But given the fact that Doctor Strange played a huge role in the last Spider-Man film, would make it pretty easy for him to show up in the next Spider-Man film, which is expected to come out either before the Kang Dynasty or right after, which could mean they could start filming sometime next year. So there are many options for Doctor Strange to appear in the MCU. It could be Doctor Strange 3. That would be probably the most logical thing to think about, but it also could be the Fantastic Four as well. And there are definitely other projects where he could show up. That makes sense, but let us know your thoughts about this. Where do you think he's going to show up? In another project, or do you think it's going to be for Doctor Strange 3? Let us know your thoughts in the comments down below. Also, don't forget to subscribe to stay up to date on the MCU, and if you subscribe and leave a comment, you're automatically entered in our giveaway for a chance to win an Xbox Series X, a PS5, some Marvel Legends items, or some DC items. We pick a winner at the end of each month, and the winner gets to pick one item. You can also follow us on Instagram and Twitter as well, and if you want, you can check out our Patreon, our Discord server, and our website. As always, thank you all so much for watching. Woof woof.